What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and the day has come. Last night, I got to see Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, a film that I've been building up to on this channel for almost the past 3 months, and which I have been anticipating since walking out of The Crimes of Grindelwald back in 2018. Now, what are my thoughts, having finally seen this film? I must confess that I am somewhat disappointed. Don't get me wrong, I still liked it, but something important to note is that I went into this film as a fan of both of the previous Fantastic Beasts films. I adored Where to Find Them and really liked The Crimes of Grindelwald. However, a lot of people didn't and went into this film hoping for a course correction. I didn't think this series needed a course correction and was afraid that we might end up with a Star Wars sequel trilogy situation, where, if you didn't know, The Last Jedi caused a lot of division amongst the fanbase, and they tried to retcon and rewrite a lot of things in The Rise of Skywalker, which ended up being a mess and pleased no one. Fortunately, this film did not feel like a course correction. They did naturally continue a lot of plot lines and elements from the previous film into this one. However, the way they resolved a lot of things and the way that certain things were executed in the story felt very underdeveloped and rushed, which left me kind of unsatisfied, but I still liked a lot of things about it, so let's talk about those first of all. Right off the bat, everything that you would expect to be good still is. The score from James Newton Howard is as fantastic as always. The direction by David Yates remains great. There are a variety of unique sets and locations on display in the film, as well as plenty of exciting action sequences, which are done justice through the beautiful and creative visuals of the acts of magic that the wizards and witches involved are performing. And the further exploration of the wizarding world is something that I consistently love about these Fantastic Beasts films. In each film, we get to explore a different corner of the wizarding world that we've never gotten to see before. In the first film, we got to see the Ministry of Magic in New York City. In the second, the Ministry of Magic in Paris, France. And in this one, we get to explore the German Ministry of Magic, as well as the ancient magical kingdom of Bhutan. The performances are also fantastic all round, especially from Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore and Mads Mikkelsen as Gellert Grindelwald. Jude Law has proven to me that he is the best on-screen Dumbledore we have seen yet. His character has so many layers, and they really peel them back in this film. You learn how much of a broken man he truly is. He is such a fantastic character, and I really felt for him in this film. Mads Mikkelsen also proves that he is far better casting than Johnny Depp for the role of Grindelwald. I couldn't buy into the fact that Albus Dumbledore would have fallen for this weird, creepy, pale-face, white-hair, mumbling guy, but the way that Mikkelsen holds himself, and the way that Grindelwald presents himself in this film, is in such a way that I could buy into how people like Albus would have fallen for him, and why so many others would be convinced to join his cause. He's also far more despicable and cruel. There's a moment in the first 15 minutes of this film where Grindelwald does something so horrific that I was legitimately disturbed. I never had a moment like that watching Johnny Depp's Grindelwald, and I feel like that alone proves the fact that Mads Mikkelsen is the best possible choice to play this character. I also love how, despite this film having a very large and expansive cast, it never feels like any one character doesn't serve a purpose in the narrative. Even Jacob Kowalski, the Muggle, who could feel rather pointless, actually has a very poignant personal character arc, which I thought was executed pretty well. Newt also has an appropriate role in the story, despite the focus shifting away from him and more toward Dumbledore and Grindelwald. That is because of his empathy. He has this incredible line in the film, which I believe you heard in the trailers as well, which encapsulates that. He's the perfect juxtaposition to all of these other characters, because Albus is a person who in his youth was corrupted by power, and Newt remains a person who is uncorruptible and pure at heart. And I really like how the title is still relevant at this point in the series. There is a fantastic beast that is integral to the plot of this film, and it would not happen without it. So once again, despite the fact that the focus is shifting away from Newt, the gang, and his beasts, they are still able to give the beasts a logical purpose in the story. Something that I am unsure is a good or bad thing about the film is that Dumbledore has a very complex and insane plan. From the beginning, he essentially says that you need to trust me even if this plan sounds completely nuts. And the entire middle portion of the film is just our characters going around and doing random things without any rhyme or reason, at least it seems, until the end. But it also doesn't seem like Dumbledore's plan actually worked. After they return from achieving their goal, or perhaps not achieving it at all, Dumbledore says, if everything did not go precisely according to plan, then it means that everything went precisely according to plan. And I can't tell if that is very intricate writing, or if it is their attempt to tell us not to think about it too hard because it doesn't make any sense. It's definitely something that will take a few rewatches to determine. Now, let's move on to the bad aspects of this film, and as I said earlier, there are many elements that feel either underdeveloped, rushed, or both. And I feel like that is a result of the fact that Steve Kloves has returned as a co-writer on this film alongside J.K. Rowling. Now, if you didn't know, Steve Kloves was the screenwriter for 7 out of 8 of the Harry Potter films, and a lot of people have been praising him, saying that he has saved the Harry Potter franchise by returning to co-write this film. I have the polar opposite opinion. When I heard he was returning, I was actually very concerned, and that is because, while he did do a competent job of adapting most of the Harry Potter books into films, he also made many missteps along the way. In many interviews, he stated that he preferred the character of Hermione over Ron, and that is why Ron ended up being a completely incompetent, idiotic buffoon for a majority of the films. He also cut out a lot of essential plot points and elements, which made many of the later Harry Potter films feel rather messy. And he brings many of those same problems into this film. There's a lot of telling and not showing. I praise The Crimes of Grindelwald for showing us the characters' internal struggles and motivations. When Leta Lestrange and Yusuf Kama are explaining their histories, we are shown what they went through. In this film, there are a lot of very interesting revelations and character beats that I like in concept, but we weren't shown them. Characters just tell us that things happened, and we're meant to accept that. Towards the end of this film, a character walks up and tells us that something happened over there that we weren't shown. And in the context of the film, I understand why the character did what they did, but they didn't earn the end result. The end result feels like it is something that should have been spaced out more and should have happened at the end of a future film, not at the end of this one. I feel like the reason the film ended up like this is because they wanted to distance this somewhat from J.K. Rowling because of the controversy surrounding her, so they brought in Steve Kloves, but it made for a very messy screenplay. I understand that Steve Kloves had experience screenwriting the Harry Potter films. He is a fine screenwriter, but he's not a storyteller. Say what you will about J.K. Rowling, but she is a storyteller. She knows how to tell a story, and I feel like they should have just let her have full creative control rather than interfering with her story and shoving in this other guy who doesn't have experience in telling stories. As a result, it made for a somewhat unsatisfying experience for me. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed this film. It was a highly entertaining experience. It had heart and soul, which is something that most modern blockbusters are devoid of, but I wanted to feel more. In the ending scene, they were very obviously going for something extremely powerful, but I didn't quite feel it. It was an entertaining experience, but an emotionally empty one. And I feel like that is because of the fact that they did so much telling but not enough showing. They rushed so many of these very interesting elements, and I ultimately don't know where they're going to go with the story now. I'm kind of confused with where they ended it, and I wasn't left on the same note of excitement that I was at the end of The Crimes of Grindelwald. I left thinking that it was an enjoyable experience, but one that I didn't get that much out of, and that's kind of disappointing. But I do recommend that you guys check this film out. If you get the chance, please support it, because I've heard it's not doing super well financially, and that's really unfortunate, because I want to see this story completed. I want to see what the final vision is, and if not enough people support it, we might not get to see that, and that sucks, because while this film is flawed, it is so much better than Hollywood's typical output that we get nowadays. But that's about all I have to say about Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. You guys, please let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Just whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.